But I've found that just pure silence is really, like, if I go do drops in Houston, it's a 2.5 hour drive. I do it in silence sometimes, at least for like an hour and a half of it. And it's crazy. You definitely get like the fidgety, itchy, like you just want to listen to something, talk to somebody. But it's amazing once you get past all that, some cool stuff can happen internally.
Hello, and welcome to the Max Revenue Show. I am your host, Trey Shields, formerly known as the Mediocre Producer, along with the Zen Master of Commercial Insurance, Micah Salas. Micah, how are you today?
Awesome.
Today, we are going to talk about a day in the life of Micah and what it looks like. But before we do that, I have asked our friend ChatGPT to write a humorous ad read for our title sponsor, InsuranceXdate.com. And here's what the robots came up with. This episode is brought to you by our friends at InsuranceXdate.com, the go-to tool for serious producers. If you're still wasting time chasing dead-end leads or waiting for Xdates from your agency's CRM, you're doing it wrong. With Insurance Xdate, you get clean, targeted prospecting data, filtered by industry, size, Xdate, and even carrier. Find the right accounts at the right time with the right info. Visit InsuranceXdate.com to start your free trial and tell them the Max Revenue Show sent you. All right, now back to the pod. The title of today's episode is Want to be a $1 million producer? Steal Micah Salas's daily routine.
Can we please not use that?
Oh, that's it.
People are going to read this and think Micah is just some narcissistic egomaniac.
In Micah's defense, he did not know this. This was my idea. I like to come up with these things and then just put him on the spot. So no, Micah's not a huge tool. Well, he is, just not a narcissistic tool.
Can we make a change? Maybe instead of follow Micah Salas's routine, let's go follow $1 million insurance producer's routine. Well, we'll talk about it later.
All right. We'll figure it out. Okay. So let's start with the obvious question. What does your typical day look like? Let's start from when you wake up to when you call it quits in the afternoon. We don't have to do family time and all that. Just anything that pertains to us as producers. What does your day look like? And before we do that, let me just preface saying I've worked at a big shop. I've worked at a small shop. I've seen a lot of producers in my time. And I can tell you that I personally think of everybody that I know, I look up to Micah the most. He is probably the best producer I know. He's not necessarily the most extroverted. He's not going to get out there and rub elbows and do all the shaking hands and kissing babies. But if you're not being handed anything and you're having to do this the old-fashioned way with cold prospecting and knocking on doors because your Uncle Rick isn't bequeathing accounts to you or you're not being fed business, Micah's Playbook is probably what you're looking for, and he is the best prospecting producer that I've ever seen, which is thus the genesis of Max Revenue, because I basically reached out to him and said, hey, I'm a struggling producer. Let's take what you know. Let's take it to the masses. There's a lot of people out there who are struggling. So that's your opening. Now, what does your day look like?
Well, it would have looked different before I had kids. So if you're listening to this and you have kids and you don't have kids, you might hear it's just different, right? Things change unless you don't want to help out at all and all that stuff. So now, basically, I start work on average somewhere between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning, which is very tough for me to adjust to because I'm sitting there kind of like itching, like I got to get my day started. But at the same time, I eventually had to realize that, no, I got to help out as much as possible. And now some of you guys might not hold that view, and I'm not judging you. If you say, I just got to get to the office, I'm the breadwinner, and I got to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30. That's fine. Just didn't work for my family. So no, if there's exceptions to be made, I will go in early and say, hey, Tori, tomorrow I need to be in at 7:45, or I got to leave for the road at 7 o'clock. Those are the exceptions. But typical day, so I get to the office, just call it 9 o'clock, check email. For some reason, mentally, and at the end of the day, I like to clear out the inbox, make sure it's all good. So when I get there in the morning, there's really not much there. I might have got a few emails overnight. Go on LinkedIn. Maybe I had an idea for a post. I'll type it up, put it on there. And then by 9:30 to 10 o'clock, I try to hit the phones. Basically, the goal is, my goal is 40 calls a day if I have no meetings. So Usually I found from like 10 o'clock to 11:45, I can definitely bust out 20 to 25 calls pretty easily. Thanks to Insurance Xdate for all they do. They make my life so much easier because again, I'm not the way I set my follow-ups and everything. I get in here and I usually have at least 20 calls, at most 40 in a day already just in my little calendar. So I don't have to think about it. I just show up and here's the calls I got to make. Okay. So then 11, which is called 11:30, I'm done. So that was an hour and a half of cold calling, maybe check some emails and go to lunch. And then, yeah, usually I get back around 1. There'll be a lot of times like, that's when I schedule like meetings or I have client things pop up or internal meetings. And so then around 2 o'clock, I'll start making calls again, usually 2 to 3:30 or 2:30 to 4, somewhere in that range. I just try to finish out my 15 calls. Now, this is, again, assuming I have 0 meetings, which is kind of rare because usually got a renewal meeting or a client issue pops up or they got a question on an audit. So, or an internal meeting. But yeah, so that's, and then I'm done. So at 4 o'clock to 4:15, somewhere in that range, close the laptop, head home.
Okay, so I imagine the big question that most people are going to ask, and they have asked in the past, is when the hell are you doing your service work? When are you doing your submissions or getting on the phone with underwriters? When are you calling prospects and getting clarification on X, Y, and Z? When are you doing all of the other things besides prospecting?
So I have, let's just call it 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So there's an hour. I have 11:30 to noon sometimes. I don't always go to lunch at 11:30, might be at noon. So I have like a 30-minute block before I go to lunch. So it's an hour and a half in the morning. And then I got from 1 to 2, there's an hour. So that's 2.5 hours a day and then maybe 15, 20 minutes at the end of the day. Here's one of the things I do. So if you add all that together, what is that? 3.5, 4 hours, basically. The other thing to keep in mind is that I am sitting at my desk making cold calls. So I don't just sit there, and I know this is probably bad advice, but some people might just go totally in the zone. I'm only making calls. I'm kind of sitting here like a broker, like making calls, fielding emails as they come in, delegating to the service person, and I get distracted a lot. So I'm not in that hour and a half time block. I'm not just sitting there just making cold calls. I'm definitely multitasking. And I'm not saying that you should do that too. I'm just saying that works for me. And I'm fielding calls from clients. They're texting me, they're calling me. So I'm always available. If you want really good, if you ask me what the number one reason that like my retention rates are so high with clients, I would say that's probably it. I'm just super available. And because I am, like, even yesterday, my account manager was like, okay, Speedy McQueen, like, you got to these emails before I could even, because I had someone ask, and so I'm sitting here calling, going on Image Right, pulling documents, flipping them back, copying the client manager, trying to help, because it helps her out too. So it helps everybody. Client's happy. I'm responding quickly. Client manager's pumped. I'm taking some stuff off her plate. I'm feeling good because I don't have my inbox just filling up with a bunch of crap. And so, yeah.
Speedy McQueen. I'm going to take note of that one. We'll use that in the future. Speedy McQueen. Noted.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I already know what your answer is going to be, but
Okay.
I'd like to hear you talk about it anyways. If you had to pinpoint the one thing about your daily routine that has led to your success over the years, what would you say it is? And it cannot be your acai bowls.
Man, for me, it's meditation. And you can take it however you want, but just quiet time, stillness, prayer, whatever you want to call it. It slowed everything down for me, and it helped me with a lot of different things in life, but also in work. I know I was doing fine. I didn't start meditating until 2020, I think, 2019. And it just helped a lot. I don't know, just set the day up right to get started that way. And there's something about doing it in the morning too. Like it's not bad to do it any time of day, but for me, the morning was key.
You do that in between dad duties and then work duties? Is there like a little segment of time in there? Or do you get up before everybody else and do it? What does that look like?
Yeah, the ultimate goal is 5 o'clock. Get up, do that for 10 to 15 minutes, and then do the rest of my day. If the kid's up, this might sound kind of funny, but so more like I call it like a living meditation. So Koa, my son, he's 14 months. He wakes up early. He wants to go downstairs. I take him downstairs to help mom breastfeeds him or whatever. I take him downstairs. It's 5:30 in the morning. What I try to do is just stay totally present. No, not on the phone. I never go on the phone in the morning right away. But just staying present, basically the meditation is just staying present with him in that moment, watching him play, taking it all in, which is actually sounds cheesy, but it's hard to do nowadays.
Bro, insane. So hard to do.
Yeah. So I really like so my life has changed because it used to be I could do a 45-minute meditation in the morning and I would. That doesn't happen anymore. But I'll try to do my 15 in bed. But if he's up and I have to get him at 5 a.m., then yeah, I go downstairs and kind of sit with him. And I still might try to carve out 10 minutes some other point in the day. But I've really tried to realize that integrate it into the lifestyle as much as possible. And I think staying present, like even if you take a walk, I've also done that. Take walks with him, with him and my dog, but just stay totally focused on the walk. Don't try to start thinking about the future. Again, sounds cheesy, but if you don't try it, don't knock it, because it definitely was a game changer.
Well, I know I don't know if you feel this way, but I can definitely notice it. What happens with me is like I'll go through these stretches where I'll completely unplug from social media. I unplug from podcasts because I just feel like I need a brain cleanse.
Yep.
And I'll be sitting here and you literally just start itching sitting there for like 5 minutes because you compulsively feel like you need to do something, and it manifests itself in work because I'll go to send an email to a prospect I just talked with on the phone, and as I'm sending the email, your little lizard brains see whatever icon on your browser, you click it, next thing you know, I've just lost 10 minutes in LinkedIn or 15 minutes reading the story about some celebrity drama that I don't give two flip-flops about. But my brain is so easily hijacked. And so I'm not here to, go into like metaphysics or meditation or whatever. But I definitely do think we are so hyper distracted. I would love to know how much revenue I would write per year if I could actually do focused work every day like I had scheduled. It would be a huge difference for me.
Absolutely. Well, it's part of the reason I also don't go on LinkedIn after Friday. Very rarely do I log in on the weekend. Maybe once every couple of months, I'll go on there for a minute or two, just maybe to give a shout out for a podcast or something. But yeah. And then for me, YouTube is more my downfall. It's not even watching the videos, it's just listening to stuff. But I've found that just pure silence is really, like if I go do drops in Houston or have a client meeting, it's a 2.5 hour drive. I do it in silence sometimes, at least for like an hour and a half of it. And it's crazy. You definitely get like the fidgety, itchy, like you just want to listen to something, talk to somebody. But it's amazing once you get past all that, some cool stuff can happen internally. All
right. So going over your day, you get in, you have your initial time block. You might throw out some stuff on LinkedIn, whatever, just to stir the pot. And then you're pretty hardcore about your call block in the morning.
Yep.
Then you have your lunch. Then you have your call block in the afternoon. And during those call blocks, you might have a couple monitors open. You're responding to inbound from clients and prospects, whatever, what have you. What does the end of your day look like? Is there some type of like to-do list so that you come in the next day and start at the top of your priority list? Or like, what does the end of your day look like?
Again, because of Insurance Xdate, as I'm making calls, I'm always scheduling follow-up calls. And any CRM you use, this is what you should always be doing. You always schedule a follow-up call, in my opinion, for a date, right? So you always should have a task. And so then you should be able to look ahead the next day and you don't even have to think about it. And if I ever get through that list during that day, I pull up Insurance Xdate, I'll just work out a little further. I'll say, okay, I'm kind of done for today. I'm going to just go out another month from now, or I'll expand the territory on there. I'm going to just expand the territory a little bit. Maybe I'll call some stuff further away, or maybe call some smaller stuff because I got through all my main calls, and so I always just kind of look for different ways if I got through everything to add to that. But yeah, at the end of the day, so I don't have to do much in terms of prepping for the next day in terms of calling. So really it's just, I go through my email and I just like to have it all like pretty clean. I don't keep quite a zero inbox, but it's pretty dang zero. It's down to 10, right? Or so.
Do you want to know what my inbox is?
I would guess like 75.
You are not even close. You're off by thousands.
No. Well, because are you counting your unfocused? Do you just not delete all that?
No, just my standard. I have 2,635 unread messages.
Well, yeah, but that's your junk. That's your unfocused box. So for me, I automatically have
It's not in my unfocused.
Really?
In my defense, I look at the sender and then I look at I have it, the text body, like the show. And so if it's not a client or a prospect or something pertinent for office work, then I just don't read it. But I know some people, it irks them just to see that big fat number up there. I don't even notice it.
Why don't you
like one of the guys,
because then it's like a messy, it's like you're trying to find what you really want to find, which is important emails, and you have to still scroll through all that.
In a previous career, I was instructed never to delete emails. So yeah, I just don't do it out of habit. All right, one little thing. Let's pivot here. Hold on a second.
What happened? Just close the deal?
No.
This is nerve-wracking stuff.
Oh, Jesus. I got to take care of this. Hold on.
This is the lifelong producer right here.
Oh, my God. Don't get me started. It's adding drivers before they've been approved by carriers. It's driving me nuts.
Is it your new client?
No, somebody picked up last year. There's like this, there's just this disconnect between my CSR and the insured's office manager about what constitutes approval from the carrier. And they hired somebody without approval, and it was this massive thing, but technically our wording in the email wasn't great. And then so now I just saw this email, and I'm praying to God it's not happened the second time. But anyways, we'll have to take care of that. All right. I know when you were previously with Federated, you did a lot of drop-ins, and I know that you have had success recently with drop-ins. And we also did a segment or a newsletter in YouTube on a newbie writes $450K in his first year. And that he does drop-ins kind of off the Federated model. So if we were going to outline what that looks like, what would an ideal drop-in day look like?
Quite a bit different because it takes up a lot of time. A couple tips, man, if you're dropping in the day before, I definitely map out the prospects that I'm going to be going to visit. And so I put them into MapQuest. You click the most efficient route. And then what I would recommend doing is before you drive to those particular businesses, you really need to, because a lot of them will be shut down or might not be there. The addresses could be incorrect. I would make calls or just do some research, go on their website, make sure it's legit to help weed out a bunch of wasted time. Yeah, so basically you're finding your prospects you want to call in a certain area, put them in MapQuest, map it, go on, take some notes that you want to chat about or that you just want to know about in the back of your mind before you stop in there, and then just prep what you want to bring with you. So for me, it's a lot of my books, maybe notepads, and then just make sure I have all that stuff ready, anything you need to print, and then I'm set for the next day. So when I get up the next day, typically, it just depends where you're going and how long you're driving, but it's going to eat up, just to do 10 drops, probably going to eat up 3 to 5 hours, somewhere in there. So I like to start not during rush hour, maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30, and then be done around 2 o'clock. So I still have that office time in the morning, and then I have the office time kind of when I get back around 3 for an hour or so. So yeah, it just takes a little more planning the day before. That's the biggest thing. And then you're going to come back to more emails when you get back to the office, maybe than you usually would have.
Yeah, this is kind of out of left field, completely unrelated to what you just said. But I do feel like one thing that, at least for me, that makes a really big difference on the road, in the office, whatever, a big lunch is an absolute productivity killer.
For sure.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, if sometimes you'll underwriter or somebody will take you out to lunch and you eat this big, for us, it's like fried seafood or a big fat po' boy or whatever. And it's like, man, I'm completely done after that. When I was in my 20s, I could totally come back to the office and just keep rolling. Now I'm like, dude, I got to go home and take a nap. So Does that bother you at all? I know you're Mr. Health Conscious, but. Well,
I mean, I'm not hardcore about it. I mean, I try to eat healthy, but yeah, it of course bothers me. Just Monday in our office, there was 2 guys in and we're like, we all knew it's a short week because of 4th of July. And so we're like, hey, you guys, should we grab some lunch? Yeah. And so we all get this Texan burger. It's got jalapenos on it. It's got bacon jam. It's really good. But tater tots. And yeah, I get back. I made 0 cold calls Monday. Right. And I'd never make them Monday morning, but I was planning on maybe making 20 in the afternoon. And I just kind of sat down and just did emails. I got work done, but nothing from a prospecting thing. So dude, yeah, No, heavy lunches. I don't really like, the only meal I like to try to eat somewhat heavy is dinner for the most part, unless it's a weekend, maybe a heavier breakfast.
Do you still do green smoothie enemas for breakfast?
No enemas. I can't speak.
Was that wasn't you? I swear that was you.
No, maybe Mike at MMA or something.
No, I thought it was you. And you had to special order them because they needed bigger suppositories.
Oh man, no.
All right. Well, I think we circled the wagons on that. I got to go. I have to go pick up my daughter from golf camp. And
Cool.
So, anything else you want to touch on?
Nope. Just start meditating. Change your life.
Change your life, brother. Do you name that person?
Hulk Hogan.
Very well done. What the hell? I got to take this. All right, sign us off. I'm muting. You're ending it. I got to go.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the super professional production here at the Max Revenue Show. No, in all seriousness, if you're still with us, we appreciate you. A couple ways you can support us or find us, or we can help you. Our YouTube channel, tons of content. We put up this podcast on there. So if you're listening on Spotify, you can check us out on there. I do a bunch of shorts. We have some live cold calls, just a ton of different videos on various topics. Also, if you guys if there's something specific that you want us to chat about, send me a message. I feel like those are some of my favorite episodes, is kind of talking through questions from you guys and you listeners. So happy to do that. And then, go subscribe to the Max Revenue newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn, all that good stuff. We will be back next week. And that is all I got for you. Go have a great 4th of July, although you won't be listening to this till after the 4th. So hopefully you have a great 4th and make the most of it. We'll see y'all.